Not all capital is created equal, especially in this environment where capital is scarce. I think we tend to run to wherever that check is, not when, in 2021, when capital was everywhere and diligence was flying around. It was kind of we saw it a little bit more like it was commoditized. It is not anymore, but doesn't mean that you go and run and get any check, right? And you had the experience where you were talking to a whole bunch of people, eventually found the right investors and created that partnership. I think we see at J.P. Morgan, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the fact that that's why my team exists on the early stage, helping companies from inception all the way through that Series A and then the IPO. That's certainly why J.P. Morgan is here, is to help as a partner to have these conversations to help startups get to that point. And you're going from 0 to 1. It's near impossible. Statistically, it is impossible. But it becomes more possible when you have people who are supporting you on the outskirts of what you do, so that you can focus on what you're doing really well, and then others can come around and support you in other things. I know on our pre-call, you talked a little bit about what York is doing on a pricing perspective, from a pricing perspective with you. Pricing is huge. Getting the price of your product right. The churn could happen all day long if you're pricing wrong and your product is still good. So surrounding yourselves with folks who are experts, and this can be law firms, this can be banks, this can be firms like York, is a huge piece to the puzzle, especially as you get escape velocity. Talk a little bit about how you've cobbled together your partnerships. And Kyle, same thing, success stories here where we're seeing these companies level themselves up, but not having to spend astronomical amounts of dollars to get to that point because they've picked the right partners.
Kyle, you want to go first, or do you want me?
Well, appreciate the kind words about Marshall. I'll make sure if he's not watching that he gets the clip and puts it on his LinkedIn. He'll be happy to hear it. Yeah, listen, when we set out to build our firm, I wanted to create a one-stop shop resource and capital hub for private companies. I wanted to create a McKinsey for startups. No startup in God's green earth is ever thinking of calling McKinsey or Bain or Forrester or Gartner on day one, right? So where do you go, right? And then I think during the frothy times of the pandemic and all that in the venture space, you've also seen an incredible democratization of investing in this private asset class and alternatives that's happened. So there tends to be a lot of angel money and early stage money that actually has been flowing and hasn't really stopped. It's never actually that intelligent of money that you get, right? It's your neighbor, it's your dentist, it's your doctor, it's your lawyer. And these aren't necessarily tech lawyers, right? So there's a lot of money that flows in the earliest stages, idea stage, genesis stage, seed stage, pre-seed stage, that is just by nature not smart money. And it ends up being kind of cats and dogs that make up your cap table for a lot of companies. So there's sort of like this long tail issue. Secondarily, when you think of like seed funds, just by nature, smaller seed funds are small, and their business model is to run on management fees and on carried interest. And so one thing that's challenging is, with management fees and you're a small fund, you really can't employ people on your team to help the companies that you back, right? So that just business model isn't aligned with entrepreneurs and founders to deliver the value add resource and capability alongside of them. So the entire thesis of our firm, from the sort of advisory as a service clients to the investments business and everything in between, was just to be resources, operators helping operators. And even I'm hearing that process from Jeff. I mean, I could hear it every day, all day, of how is it like a respectful and like collaborative and friendly and actually like curious sort of collaboration is really important to me, because it's meant to be from the lens of not I'm a VC evaluating 10,000 companies a year and deciding which ones I like, but more from companies that we could see ourselves collaborating with to build the company. Because one thing I say to founders all the time is, when you raise money from outsiders or venture capitalists, you're selling a little piece of your company to a bank, to another partner, to a financial institution, and you need to really ensure that you get along and that they understand your day-to-day life. And so often, majority of these investors and these firms have actually never worked as an operator for 1 second of their life. And by the way, the amount of times I see funds that are out there that say like they're operationally friendly, and then you see like the MBA internship someone had like 15 years ago as their operational experience, I want to puke, right? So this is the natural correction we're seeing in the market, where founders are just getting way more thoughtful about who they choose to work with. It's not just the value add, it's also just the simpatico, the cultural alignment, the philosophical alignment, the rapport. And, I think that's mattering more than ever at the seed stage. Because again, check writing's still happening at our stage. It hasn't really slowed down.
I think that operator-led approach too. I mean, they do feel like an extension of the team. I mean, I could pick up everybody on your team here. I won't go one by one, but with the pricing stuff, I mean, that is something that we've been iterating on quite a bit, because we don't know if it's not going to work yet, but we feel like we're trying to iterate quickly to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our current customers, but also for our potential customers. And yeah, Matt Shapiro gets a message from me at least twice a week going, hey, I think I've got it. Here it is. And then we'll jump on the phone and he'll be like, yeah, this is great, but what about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Okay, let me go back. And it's just that ability to have, the four of us and the rest of our team members could go on and on and on and try to, run with things, but we don't have that experience that the people on the team, your team, do have. And so that's what we kind of turn to you a lot. We turn to our other investors a lot as well for different aspects of the business, because that's what they're there for. And they've always positioned that to us as, hey, like, we are here to help you. We're not just here to go, hey, how are your numbers looking? I mean, of course, they're going to ask that too, but you want us to succeed. And I think we can feel that in like our partners, that they actually want us to succeed.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot as we use the term aligned incentives and aligning incentives, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to create accountability for everybody on your cap table, right? It's kind of the cheap seats to just sit there, show up, to your quarterly board meeting, beat you up. Why did you miss this KPI? Why did you beat this KPI? Why did you not make this hire? You said you were going to do this revenue. It's better to be actively engaged, actively available, accountable, collaborative. And then it's kind of a we discussion as opposed to a us versus them discussion too.